This is a story called The Children Who Were Separated During the War. It's 1940 and World War II was been in full swing for almost a year. Already thousands of people have sadly lost their lives and others changed forever. There's a young family of 14 who so far have managed to stay together. There's Mum Barbara and Dad George and their 12 kids. Kenneth and Carl aged 14, Margaret aged 13, June aged 11, Ronald and Keith aged 9, Jack aged 8, Elizabeth aged 6, Karen aged 5, Evelyn and Georgina aged 4 and Julie aged 2. One day George gets called up to fight in the war, and all the children were evacuated to the country. Instead of them going to the same place, they all went to different parts of the country. The twins stayed together, like one set of twins with one couple and the other two sets of twins with other couples. All of the other kids were spread out and evacuated to different parts of the country. As you can imagine, they all missed each other terribly and their parents. Barbara wanted the family to stay together, but because it wasn't safe in London anymore, she had no choice but to let them go to different places. Of course, the kids didn't want to go and they all cried, especially the little ones who were too young to understand what was going on. Barbara kept in touch with them as often as she could, but she was doing her bit for the war effort. The kids settled in to their new temporary homes, and although they were happy and well looked after, it didn't stop them missing each other and their parents. After the kids had been in their temporary home for about a year, they received some bad news. Their dad had been shot and killed in action. They were allowed to go home for the funeral and to see their mum, but then they had to go back to their temporary homes. However, about 6 months later, they received news that their mum had been injured in the factory she worked in. This time they didn't go home, but they kept in touch with how she was doing via telegram. Barbara was kept in hospital for 2 weeks, and in time she made a full recovery. Before she went back to work, Barbara decided to go and visit the kids, and she stayed with each of them for a couple of days. They were all very happy to see her, but sad and tearful when she had to leave. A few months after Barbara's visit, Kenneth and Carl were approaching their 16th birthday, so Barbara arranged a surprise party for them, and all the family were going to be there, but they were sworn to secrecy. On the day of the party, the boys didn't have a clue what was going on or why they had to get dressed up. When they walked into the room and everyone shouted surprise, and then they saw their family, they became overwhelmed with tears of joy. The party went perfectly, and everyone had an amazing time. However, when it came time to say goodbye again, everyone was upset. Barbara promised all 12 kids that as soon as the war was over, they could all go home to live with her again. About 3 months later, Barbara was killed when the factory she worked in was bombed. All the kids attended her funeral and promised to keep in touch. All of them were adopted by the people they were living with, and eventually they all lost touch. No one knows how, they just put it down to the war and the fact that they had new lives. When the war ended on the 2nd of the 9th, 1945, all the older kids were adamant that they were going to find their brothers and sisters, but it was virtually impossible. However, just as they all thought that they would never see each other again, about 6 years after the war, Kenneth and Carl received a letter. The letter was from Margaret, telling them that she was in touch with the rest of the family and that they were all going to meet up. She gave them a time and the place that they were meeting. Kenneth and Carl couldn't wait to see everyone. On the day they met, everyone was overwhelmed with tears of joy again. It turned out that they only lived about 5 miles apart. They agreed to stay in touch and to meet up all together at least once a month, if not more. With all of them together, their partners and kids, birthdays and Christmas were very expensive for them all. However, no one cared about that. All they cared about was that they were all together again as a family. That's all that mattered. The end. Thank you.